I would just like to go through what I've done on the hack day, which is to use a notebook or Python notebook to perform ETL jobs that we normally do. Um, so the first thing is, why do I want to do that for my hack day? This is because I was previously asked by the people from the business about is there an easier way to understand the ETL jobs that you guys are doing, such as the specifically the part for the sales monitor. Um, because what I did is when I gave them the SQL statement, then it goes, oh, it's very complex to understand because the length of the statement and there's so many logics in there. And then I thought if I need to explain the sales monitor logic, it will take me like a good couple of sections, which is just to go through um how where we get the data, how we get the data, and how we transform it and load it into the sales monitor. So the next thing I thought about, why don't we just document the sales monitor job and then everyone from the business can understand. And then the reason we didn't do that is because it will be hassle to maintain the documentation to be up to date. The reason for that is our ETL jobs are changing every day because the business sometimes they want new logic or they want to modify the existing logic to make certain data make more sense. So that's why it's hard for us to keep the documentation up to date. So the other thing is when every time there's an issue happens with the job that we have, such as the agreement summary or sales monitor or the win-loss, that will take us a while to investigate the cause of it because of the complexity of these jobs. So imagine if you have like SQL statement which is like 1,000 lines, and someone just come and say, oh, this part of the table doesn't make sense, this column doesn't show the right data. Then it will take us a long time to reverse engineer what's actually been doing and going through that 1,000 lines of SQL and try to pinpoint that particular line which causing the problem is not straightforward at all. So usually from the past when I have an issue with the agreement summary, at least it will take me at least 3 days just to identify where the problem is. And then after that, it will take a day or two to fix the issue. So what do we want to have for our future? So obviously that we need something that could work in our new data platform because with the new data platform, we can't use our Informatica to do ETL jobs or data loading. And then we want something that makes everyone easier to follow and understand each of the jobs. So what I want is something that, okay, when you just look at that thing, you can easily follow it like a document. So for example, all right, when this is the sales monitor job, and then you can literally read from the start to the finish, and then at the end of it, you will know, yeah, this is where we get the data from, and this is what the data structure is like, and these are the transformations, and this is how we end up the data in the sales monitor. So with that, right, it's easier for our team to work with as well because if someone done the work, and then if someone try to pick up, modify the same ETL job without the prior knowledge, they can just literally go through that document again, and then they will see, these are the changes that I need to make. And then the other thing is easier for us to pinpoint if there's a bug in the job. And the next part we want is the version control, which Informatica has at the moment. We need that because usually the business, after we roll out something and then the data has been loaded for a couple of days, and then business goes, yeah, maybe we need to change this part of the logic a little bit to make it better. So, and sometimes like, yeah, we shouldn't change that. We would like to revert back to the old logic. So version control is important so we can do a rollback if we need to be. And the next thing is with this new tool, we can join data from different sources, just like what the Informatica is doing. That's very important for us. And the last bit is I hope this tool will be easy for everyone in our team because most of us are coming from a software package background. So like people work with Oracle DI, which is the Oracle Data Integrator, or people work with Informatica beforehand. So we want a tool which is easier for us from the background knowledge that we have to translate to the new tool. So next bit is why do I look at a notebook? Just the reason for that is the first time I see notebook is when I saw Aaron does his analysis with the data. Um, so what I saw is he literally have a notebook, and then all the analysis that he does is break into parts. So when I look at his computer screen from just reading it from the top to the bottom, I can literally understand each step that he's taking before he produce the results of his data analysis. And then I thought, yeah, this would be a good way for us because literally we can break our jobs into those small chunks and then showing that this is the results. So that's it. That's why in the hack day I just pick one part of the sales monitor job, which is the most easy part, and just want to test it out um, and see what it looks like. So the setup. Because I won't try this in AWS, so what I saw in the AWS, they have this thing called Glue. So AWS Glue is a tool that they sell it as a ETL tool for the AWS platform. So following the examples that they have in the document, I was able to spin up like a Zeppelin server. So the Zeppelin is another kind of notebook which is similar to the other notebooks such as the Jupyter notebook that Aaron is using. And then once I set it up, I was able to connect my computer to it. So, and then at the end of that, I was able to load data, joining data, and transform the data using the notebook. And just one thing to note that the notebook that provided by the AWS setup is somehow a bit different to the ones that I can download from the Apache website. So one thing is you can't import your code into the notebook, but with the Apache version you can. And then the other thing that a notebook can do is plotting data on the fly. So I found this is quite useful for us because as we start developing our ETL job along the way, we can literally plot the data and see the trend of that data makes sense. So this is another thing that as we develop our ETL job, we can sort of like to make it more certain what we're doing or the logic that we applying is correct. And I found this tool could be quite useful for the business as well if they need to see the trend of the data. So maybe I start with what the notebook is like. Found this quick as well. Okay, okay, so this seems to be better. Okay, so yeah, this is the first part that I have. This is just like a comment. So the comment is just the SQL statement that I have from the ETL job that we're using at the moment. So this is just like doing a join with different tables, and then in here there's like a case statement that we have. So I just want to use this as to show that we can do data transformation. So there's the SQL, and yeah, that part is a case statement. And then I found the other good thing is with this notebook is you can create a diagram about the data relationship and then you just post in there. So this diagram shows like how the sales monitor job join the tables together using what keys. And then if you want, you can like add the attributes such as which column we are pulling from different tables. So that's the diagram showing the data relationship. So yeah, because this is running like a PySpark job in the AWS end, so what we have is we just need to import all this library. So what I found, this is like pretty standard, and then these are I will think that most of our ETL jobs we just use the same set of libraries. So the first thing is to load a table, you just all you have to do is just like put this, create like a data frame. So this is a database that you're pointing to, and then this is a table name, and then that's it. This is how you load the data, and then the data frame get stored into this variable called df. So this df has the data of this sales monitor staging table. And then again, I just continue with loading agreement item tables and various other tables. And then here you can see some intermediate result when you within the data frame. And then you can do counts and other things like that. So I found this is quite useful as well because you can see what sort of data you're pulling just to confirm what you're pulling is correct. And then the next bit is again I load, or the rest of it is like loading the table into and then storing them into different data frame variables. And then as we continue on, so this is the first part when I try to join the tables together, which is to perform the left outer join and all that. So to do a left outer join, if we want to do like a code way, right, using the code, and so you just need to do like a select what columns you want, and then you just specify the join. So joining the account table, if you're using the DF, which is the sales monitor staging table that we loaded before. So the way to join these two tables together is from the staging table, the client row ID equals to these tables here, get dot integration ID, and just specify left outer join. And then once you've done that, you can also do a show just to show the results that you have, and then you can see this is the result that I have, and then this is just to confirm that your data is correct. And then after that, I just continue doing the joins with different tables. And then this part is just to go through how I handle the case statement. So again, this statement is just from above that we saw before. And then what this case statement say, if the product line is in this live account or essential payroll, and previous agreed product group is not now, and order agreed product group is not now, then when previous product group is equal to order agreed product group, then replacement upgrade. So based on these values, and then the output is this um, four types: replacement, upgrade, downgrade, or pricing error. So to do that in the code, I just like using similar logic as the case statement, and then I just do when that is live account essential and the previous product agreed product group is not now, and so on. And then when the previous agreed product group equals to the order agreed product group, which is here, this part here, and then I say it's a replacement. So it's like pretty similar logic that I have to follow. And then it's just like a different syntax. They use when, otherwise, and then when, otherwise. Whereas this one case when and then else case when. And then at the end of that, you can also do a show just to make sure that you get the correct value. So you can literally check, if this is the inputs, these are the outputs. So if you scroll down, you will see different types. So if it's upgrade, then you can check against the expression that you have just to confirm that you've done it correctly. because with our current ETL tools that we have to literally load the data into the database first to see the result. But this one, you can see the result on the fly. So again, you have like replacement, upgrade, yeah, and then all these values, right? Then you can just go through it and just make sure you get the correct logic in place. And then other people might think, ah, yeah, all this is great, but I'm really coming from a SQL statement background, then is there an easier way for me to do it? So the good news is that you can literally put a SQL statement if you want. So all you have to do is just call this spark.sql and then you just paste the whole SQL statement as like a string. And then it will perform the same logic as what you have before. So in here, I didn't show the other part, the input part, because I just do the case statement. What I did, just paste the whole case statement in there and then just run it. And then in here, you see the EA movement type as well. So again, this you can you don't have to use the whole code to put your ETL job. You can literally just run select statements. And then I think that's about it. That's all I have to show for the notebook part. The next part is I will try to go through the glue, AWS glue that we have. Then from there, what we will see is using glue, we can literally run this whole thing and load the data into Redshift or RDS, which is like showing that, yep, we can do it as an ETL job in AWS using this notebook script. Because the other thing with the notebook is if we don't use the AWS glue, we can literally export this as a Python script, and then because it's Python script, then we can use AWS Lambdas or the Droplet platform to just run this Python script, and then it will perform the same thing, which is loading data into Redshift or RDS and pulling data from S3 or whatever data source that's available in AWS. So that's it for the notebook, and let's go back to the presentation. So okay, so what I think. So I think the notebook again could be one of a good candidate for considering our future ETL tool. The reason for that is it provides a versioning because when you export it as a Python script, you can just upload it to GitHub or S3, and then you have like a version control of the history of changes. And the second bit is you need to test our code um, because it's literally like a Python script, then we can add test cases into the code and into the job, so we can every time when we deploy it, we can just run all these automated unit testing script just to make sure it doesn't break our existing logics. And the other thing is, as we saw in the notebook, we can actually break up the long SQL that we have into smaller chunks, which is very good for us. And again, export as a Python code can be executed in AWS. Allow us to put diagrams and comments as we saw before, so it's easier to understand the code because picture speaks 1,000 words. Yeah, and yeah, again, literally the code is like the documentation because if we structure the code in a in a certain nice readable way, right? Literally that the whole document is like a document. Then you can pass it to the business or other people, and they will just follow step by steps, and then they will know what the job is doing. So if the commenting is done correctly, we can search all the jobs that relate to a source of the target table. This is because what is that? Because the output is like a script or text file. Then what we can do is like we do a string search of the whole repository, and then we'll see, yeah, these are the jobs relating to this table as a source, and that relate to that table as a target. So kind of the sort of commenting that we can do is like we have to specify the source and target table for each job, just in our comments. And then other thing is, yeah, since we can do plots within the notebook, it allows us to check the output of SQL to make sure that they make sense during the plot development and without exporting the data into Excel to check. Because with the current way to do our ETL, we have to, if we want to check the output, we always have to put it into the right to a table, and then from that table we export it as a CSV and put it into Excel to see the data trend or the plot of the graph. But with the notebook, we can just do it on the fly. That could save us a lot of time. And yep, that's it. The next part I will try to go through the AWS Glue and see how I go with that. Cheers.